Good morning, friends. Welcome to GoOnlineTrainings.com. From today, let us start with the multi-dimensional expression queries. Okay. As we discussed already, we have a OLTP database. It is a two-dimensional database. You have to write the normal queries and retrieve the data. And we have a database, that is data warehouse, that is also a database, two-dimensional database, where we have to write normal queries and we should be able to retrieve the data. But when you create a cube and deploy and process and deploy the cube, the processed data, the aggregated data is going to be stored in the multi-dimensional database. The database is known as a multi-dimensional database, where you have to write multi-dimensional expressions, because it is not two-dimensional database. Two-dimensional database means you will have rows and columns. Multi-dimensional database means you will have rows and you have columns and you have third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, lots of dimensions are there. Okay, multi-dimensional database is that. So if you wanted to retrieve the data from the cube database, and the cube looks like this. So cube is, see, normally they're able to give, cube means it is three-dimensional here, but it is going to have and multi-dimensional. So now one dimension is time, one dimension is product, and one dimension is stored here. So you're able to see only three dimensions visually. So you cannot see fourth dimension, fifth dimension visually. So that is the problem. So people did not include that kind of a diagrams there in the websites. So when you have, see, assume that this is a cube. If you wanted to retrieve, for example, I wanted to have a region north, south, east, west, and I have a time region and the time, this is one thing we have, one dimension we have, and we have a product dimension. So I wanted to know what is the for donut or sandwich or for the north region, and in 2000 to what is the sales. So now if you wanted to have this kind of a queries, definitely cube is going to aggregate the data. So for example, we're talking about the soda and 2011 and say some south city, something like this. So it is only, it is able to show you three-dimensional figure, but normally it is n-dimensional. All the aggregated data is stored, and you wanted to get the data from the MDX queries. So it is not two-dimensional. The way you write the queries are bit quite different, but it is very easy to understand. So how to write the MDX queries? The simple MDX queries looks like this. You have to have select set or tuple or member on a column, and other slash 0 or access 0, and you have same set tuple on rows. Then you have a second three, blah blah blah, and from the cube name you have to mention and where condition. Whereing means slicing. Okay, dicing means grouping and aggregation. So normally people would say slice and dice of the data in Excel. When somebody is saying slicing and dicing of the data, slicing means I wanted to filter, dicing means I wanted to aggregate and see. So already aggregated data is available and you should be able to see. Okay. So MDX query supports maximum 127 levels and no names after fifth level, because you have rows and columns, and the next one is page, extent, chapter, and after that you don't have the names also, right? So this is how you have to understand the MDX. Then how can we get the data in MDX? So MDX always gets the data in these two axes. I have x-axis. X-axis means column. So whenever you keep some data here, it'll come like this. You think if you drag and drop some field here, it'll come like this, right? So it is nothing but a column to you. Whenever you drop something in y-axis, it'll come like this. When you come like this, it'll be row. So people are saying y-axis is known as a row. It is also known as a one, or it is also known as a axis one in MDX. If say you drag and drop one field here, for example, country. If you wanted to drag and drop country onto the rows, you can have drag and drop onto the rows, or you can have sales amount on the columns. Either you can say columns, or you can say zero, or you can say axis one. Okay, remember x-axis means columns. Why it is? When you drag and drop some data here, it'll create a column like this. Clear? And when you drag drop and something onto the y-axis, it will create a rows like this. So rows means columns means x-axis and rows means y-axis. And Some more things we have to understand in the dimensions. So dimensions will have attributes and hierarchies, and the dimensions will have members. So what is an attribute and what is a hierarchy and what is a member? Let us understand. So let me straight away go to the dimension here. This is a cube. When you go here, and this is what is your cube. Cube always looks like the relationships, everything. And the cube means, try to understand, it is going to store always a structure. This is the structure, relationships and column names, all of them going to happen. So when you process the cube, this is the one, it is going to read the data from the cube database, and all the data would have been aggregated, and it would be deploy the aggregated data to the cube. So cube doesn't store any data. Try to understand here. So cube is just like an engine. Engine means process. For example, when you start the motor or when you start the car engine, what's going to happen? It is going to go to the petrol, get something, and it will start. Okay, something like that. So it is going to go to the database and read the data. It is going to aggregate the data, but aggregated data I wanted to store. For that purpose, we had given a database. When you right click on this, go to properties, and when you go to the deployment, the server name is dot, and the database name is Amazon Products Cube database. Inside that, we're going to have Amazon Sales Cube dot cube. Okay, so this is a thing you're going to understand. So when you process it, it is going to take the structure and all the aggregated data going to be stored in the database. And we have to connect to this database which you have created and where we have to write our queries. Clear? So that's fine. Now, when you go to the dimensions, so these are called dimensions. When you double click on say dim time or dim location dimension, and this dimension has attributes, and this dimension has hierarchies, and this is a DSV. DSV means it is a data source view. However, you're able to see in the data warehouse level. So this is the data warehouse level, and these two are part of your cube level. So cube is going to have attributes and hierarchies. Now let us understand what is an attribute and what is a hierarchy and what is a member. So when I take a dim location table, so dim location table is a dimension. Try to understand. So this is my table. So when you go to the database and read my data, and I say select star from dim location, when I execute, I'm able to get some data. So this dim location is a dimension, and the location key, country, state, city, these are called column names, and these are called attributes also. Attributes or column names, location key, country, state, and all of them. And here I have data 101, 102, 103. I have India. I have USA. I have Texas, Rhode Island, Maryland, and Tamil Nadu. Like that, some Indian cities are there, and we have some USA cities are there, and these are called member. Member means data or a value. So Bangalore is a member inside the city attribute, and Ooty is the member inside the city attribute value, or the so 101, 102, all these are values or members, or the data are the values. So be clear. So what is a dimension? What is an attribute? What is a member? Dimension means dim location. What is an attribute? Attribute means column names, location key, country, state, city. These are attributes. Member means all these individual data. Vijayawada is a member. Mysore, Ooty, Baltimore, Texas, Rhode Island, USA. So all the distinct values, remember, each and every one distinct value is a member, and that is a data. And we also create a hierarchy that is called city hierarchy had created, country, state, city. When you create a hierarchy, the data is organized like this. So you have country, you have, the country state, and within the India, we're going to have this, and within the US, we're going to have this. Like that, this is one kind of a data you have to understand. The same kind of a data is also available, and these are Hyderabad, Andhra Pradesh, and you have USA, Texas, all these are also members. Members means data. And this is the hierarchy columns. These are the hierarchy. So hierarchy also will have same kind of a data, country, state, city. And the dimension also, the attributes also will have country, state, same city, but important that where you're getting the data. When you go to the your project, and when you double click on this, and when you go, these are called attributes, and these are called, hierarchy, city hierarchy. Within that we have same attributes. Now when you come to the browser tab here, let us understand what is going to have. So I have all these attributes. I have location key, and I have all, and below that I have unique values. Okay, all is the default member. So when you process the cube, what is going to happen is that all is the member will get included for each and every attribute, and all the data members are included. These are the individual elements. So whatever you're able to see, these are there, and you have to get one more thing, that is all. All is the default member. Why we have to use all, I'm going to tell you. So then country. So when you go to the country also, or the second column, again all will be there, only distinct values are there. But when you go to the table, you have duplicate values. Okay, whenever the processing is happening, it is going to take all the distinct values from each and every column, and it is going to keep like this, and this data will be processed. I have India, and I have US, and I have all. So all is the default member for each and every attribute. Now when you go to the after country, we have a state here. When you go to the state, and you have all member different states from different, Andhra belongs to India, then Florida, then we have Karnataka, all of them, all, all states of all countries, remember this. And you have the city, and where again default member is all. You have all states, you have all cities of all states of all countries here. You can see Dallas from, US, and we have, say, some of them Bangalore. So Bangalore is from India. We have only two countries, USA and India. So like that, you should be able to take all, and only the distinct values are there. Try to understand now. So we have these three. When we have to understand the hierarchy, and when you create a hierarchy is country. These are countries. When you open this, these are, states. When you open this, these are cities. So when you create a hierarchy, automatically the data is organized like this. So these are the cities in hierarchy, and always you have to go where you have to go to the cube and go to the dimension, double click on this, and from here you have to come to the browser session, and you have to see how the data is organized. This is how the data is organized, and whether or drag and drop this column or that column. So both of them are getting the data from this table only. Try to understand. But this is a flat tabular model, and this is a hierarchical model. Try to understand. So when you create a hierarchy, and in MDX queries, it will be helpful, and you should be able to create a drilling down reports very easily with the help of hierarchy. Hierarchy is not a mandatory to create, but it is recommended. Okay. So these are called attributes. What a dimensions can have, now you're able to understand. Okay. So dimensions can have dimension table name and attribute names, and you can have columns, members, and you have hierarchy. Even the hierarchy has this data members are organized like this. So this is what is called, dimension. Dimension contains attributes, hierarchies, member. What is a member? Member is a data. India is a data. US is a data. 101 is a data, and city Bangalore is a data, Dallas is a data. So each and every individual member is a data. Now all is the default member here, and some more things we have to understand. What is a member already we discussed, and what is a set and a tuple also we're going to discuss very soon. Members from same hierarchy is called as a set, and to represent set we are going to use this kind of a set, and the members from different hierarchy is called as a tuple, and this kind of a braces can be used. Same dimensions cannot be used in more than one axis. Normally what is going to happen when you drag and drop any column, because MDX queries just not like simple queries, we have to think like this. Okay, rows and columns. For example, I have countries there. The same country you cannot drag and drop to y-axis. The same country you cannot drag and drop to x-axis. So it is saying same dimension or the same hierarchy or the same hierarchy cannot be used in more than one axis. Probably you will be able to get this kind of errors very soon. And let us write simple MDX query. So how do I write the query? Go to start and here, and you will have SQL Server. If the SQL Server is not there, it is SQL Server already opened. So you have to go to the SQL Server and click on connect, and you have to go to analysis services. This is one way to connect. Other way, you can simply go to start and you can go to all programs and connect to the SQL Server. And here we have SQL Server Management Studio because we have to connect to the Cube database. Okay, so instead of choosing database engine as data by this one, you have to choose analysis services and give the the name. My server name is Kedar, or you can put Kedar, or if you have local SQL server, put single dot and click on connect, and it is local SQL server you're going to connect by putting single dot there. And these are the databases, and you can see your database here. Try to understand. Now this is one instance, and where we have one more instance, this is the database. Okay, now you should be able to see everything here, and this is where your cube is going to have. Clear? If you wanted to delete this database, delete, and again when you process the cube, automatically the cube dot database will get created in this. So when you go to the cube, and this structure, cube is always going to have a blank structure here. So when you process the cube, what is going to happen? All the tables are taken and the aggregated data is also dumped onto this database. Clear? And if you wanted to work on the MDX queries, click on new query. Okay. So when you click on a new query, automatically you will be able to see this kind of a structure. Again, you have, this is the cube name. You have measures. All the measures are available and all the data is available here. Simply, you can write the queries. So let me give simple MDX query. Okay. So select from the cube name. So cube name, you can simply drag and drop here and execute. When you execute something, automatically some junk value it is given you. So you need not put star here. You should not put star here because star is going to be there in the two-dimensional queries. It is MDX query. So this is not the database name. It is a cube name. Okay. Now let me write one more query here. Some junk data is given. So now if I wanted to get the total sales amount. Okay. When you say I need to get the total sales amount, very simply you can say select the cube name from cube name. So cube name you should be able to get from here, and in the select you need the sales amount only. This is what sales amount. Okay. And when you execute like this, it will going to give you an error because you have to specify whether it should be in rows or columns. So when you understand the basics of a queries, you have to be very clear. So you have to have, when you drag and drop something, it should be there in the column or in the row. Okay. So when you drag and drop something, you should be able to get the data either to the column or to the row. So you have to say on columns or you can say on rows. Now let us execute and you're able to get the total sales amount data. Now always this sales amount data, you can go to the data warehouse. This is my data warehouse, right? And sales amount is available here, and always you should be able to get the same data and check it. So from fact sales amount, let me perform the aggregation. Now take sum of sales amount and execute this query. When you execute, you're getting 1414659, and when you go to the cube, and you're also getting 1414659, but here there is no aggregation. Try to understand. This is also giving you same kind of a data, and this is also giving you same kind of a data. End of the day, what is you going to understand? This data doesn't have any aggregation because it is aggregated data, but here you have to, create an aggregation, and when you execute the query on the fly means, immediately it is going to take all the data from the fact table, it is going to aggregate. Think if you have 10 million data, this sum it cannot happen within fraction of seconds. It is able to do because I have only 33 rows in this table. Okay, I have very limited data in this table. Because of that, this query is also faster. If you wanted to retrieve the data from the data warehouse, you can also do it, but this query will not, execute very quickly. Try to understand. Here, you have to use sum. But when we go to the MDX query, we did not use the sum here. Simply drag and drop the column, the total value, you're able to get it. But instead of columns, you can also say 0. 0 means what? So when you go to here, and the columns are 0 or axis 1. So columns are 0 or axis 1, and rows 1 or axis 1. Anything is fine. So when you execute, this is also fine. Okay. And you can also say axis 0. So axis 0 means what? You should be able to get the data like this. Okay, this is the columns. But if somebody is saying, I would like to put rows here, okay, and it is going to give you the error. Remember that. So column is mandatory, row is optional. If you wanted to use a row, you must use column. Okay, without a column, rows cannot be used. It is saying access number specified on the query must be, sequentially specified. So cannot contain gaps. Gaps means what? Column is mandatory. This is telling. If the column is not there, you cannot use row. But if the column is there, so rows is fine. So what is the learning point here? So column is must. Okay, column is must, but whereas row is optional. Okay. If only put a row, it is going to give you. So you have to have a column first, then only it is going to work. Columns and rows, you have to think like this. So columns and rows, that is a plural. Okay, then it's going to be working. So without a column, you cannot have a row. That is the meaning of this. If you put a row, it'll give you issues. Now, this is one way, get the total sales amount. Now let me create one more query. Get the total quantity sold. Here you cannot understand as individual element. It is a total quantity sold. Okay. So when you say, you have to simply go here and drag and drop this. You have to say on again columns, and this is how you have to get the quantity sold. And the same query you should be able to write in this. And what is the thing you have to do it here? And the control C, control V. Here you have to say quantity sold. When you execute, you should be able to get 19735. When you go here, you're able to get 19735. This is the way you are going to get the data. Now tell me, how do I get the total, or the, counts in the fact table? So you have to drag and drop this value. Column is known as a 0 also. So simply get, and you can also say simply 0 or access 0. So you simply drag and drop something. This is also fine. So you're having 33 rows in the fact sales table, and this is going to give you counts. Okay. When you go here, and how is that you're going to get the data? And here go, and instead of this, you have to put count star. Number of rows it's going to count, and when you execute this, it's going to give you number of rows. We have 33, and the same thing it is going to give you in this also. But we are writing the complete what kind of a aggregation I have to use. You have to know the appropriate function, and you have to know appropriately how to use. And the second thing is that everything will be executed on the fly. So here already aggregated data is there. You're not going to get any kind of a thing over there. So try to understand like this. Okay. So how to write a simple query? This is a junk value. So only to show you how to write a simple query, I had given that. But when you wanted to execute both of them, it is not going to execute. So now if you wanted to execute both queries, use go in between. Okay. So it is go is compulsory, then only you should be able to execute both queries. Click on execute button. And now this query and both, these queries are giving same kind of result set and like this. If you wanted to execute this query and this query, you have to use go. And this is a commenting style you can have. Commenting style you can have. So let me remove that. And you can execute this query and this query at a time. So go is mandatory. Okay. Now as you seen in the syntax, people would say, okay, 0 is fine, 1 is fine. Can I access the data in the, second and third and fourth also? That means what? Access 0, access 1, access 2, access 3. We have some names, columns, rows, pages, section, chapter. And after, fifth level, you will not have the name. So name names after fifth level also, you have to simply say, drag and drop something on 5. But you have a 0 and 1, it is going to work, and 2, 3, 4 will not work because the MDX will support only rows and columns, even though the data is available there. So end of the day, you have to get the data only in these two columns. There is no z-axis. Z-axis means we're talking about the second. This is the column. This is x-axis, y-axis, and it is z-axis. And the next axis and also we don't have. And even z-axis also it is not going to be supported. Try to understand. MDX supports only two axes. Okay, so only rows and columns. Now let me write some more data. Same query I wanted to write in some other manner. How is that? So select from cube name, and here I wanted to get what is the total quantity sold. This is my query. Same thing I'm going to repeat here, but I'm writing in different manner. So where I'm going to drag and drop quantity sold to the where clause and try to execute like this. And the quantity sold is 19735. So the quantity sold is at 19735. Okay, so using a where clause also, you should be able to get some data if you wanted to get some data, and only that data will be given. If you wanted to have the total count also, remove this and you should be able to drag and drop fact sales count also. Okay, so this is also one more way you should be able to get the data from the MDX queries. Either you can run like this or you can also put the same thing, but when you're putting here, you have to put what is the thing where you wanted to display. So by default column is mandatory. So this is also giving you 33 and this is also giving you 33. So this is another way to retrieve the data. Now this is fine. Now all these are very, very basics. Now let us come down and let us write some more queries here. Now I wanted to get sales amount. Sales amount means total sales amount. Uh, uh, Country wise. You can say I would like to have country wise. So each and every country I wanted to perform here. So country wise I would like to have. So now write the query, select from the cube name. Cube name already you know it. So I wanted to drag and drop sales amount. So sales amount is already there. And in this, let me give on columns, comma. Okay. And you have one more thing, that is what is called country. Where is the country? When you go here, so country is available here. When you expand this, and you should be able to get the country. And when you expand the country, you have again members. I told you, right? Members means individual data. Okay. So when you go here, okay, when you double click on location here, when you go to the country, and these are individual data, these are individual members. Okay, if you wanted to get like that, and you have to go to the country and don't drag and drop this, you have to drag and drop this country. Okay, so comma, drag and drop this country and say on rows. Okay, so let me execute like this. Now, India sales is this, US sales is this. Like that, you can have columns and rows, both of them you can have in the same queries. So I wanted to know country-wise. So you can also, reverse it. I can have rows first here. I can also have a column first here. That is also fine. Column is mandatory. I am not saying it has to be there in the first row. You can have anywhere. So whether the but only thing is that column has to be there. It can be the rows can be first, column can be later also. Okay, that is fine. So it is going to work without any issue. But you will have India, USA like this and sales amount like this. Okay, so however you want it to have, you can have. So now let me create one more query. I wanted to have get sales amount year wise. When you ask year wise, what is going to happen? Let us understand. So simple same query you have to repeat. Okay. Now here I'm going to have instead of country, you have to put comma here. The comma is compulsory. Many people will forget that. And put and below the drag and drop here. You have to go to which year I'm talking about sale date. Here means sale date here. You have to be clear because we have delivery date also. Ask the customer if you are not clear and don't drag and drop, which is the wrong thing there. Sale date year wise. Okay. Now, when you go to the sale date, you will be able to get all these are attributes. And below you have two hierarchies also. Now, I'm able to, I'm working on only purely attributes. Now, when you go to the attribute, when you expand this, and you will have these are individual members. Okay, so you should not drag and drop this. You have to drag and drop this. So drag and drop the year, and you have to simply go here and you can say on columns, or simply you can say on 0, and this is 1. Okay, then you execute the data. You're able to get the data. So what is the problem? I missed on. Okay, now let me execute the data here. I should be able to get the year wise 2002, 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17 is the null. So I don't have any data in the 17 because next year. If you need any kind of a column or a row, I don't want to display if the all the data is null values, then in this column or tomorrow I can also put 0 here. I can also put 1 here. So it will become in the reverse order. The same diagram you should be able to get in the reverse order. Okay. So when you have, it will be like this, but 17th is already, we have the data in that database, but we don't have the next year data, right? Now I don't want to display this row. So wherever the row is means this is a column, this is a row. And here you can write a keyword called non-empty. Okay, give me only the non-empty. Don't give me empty values. So we can mention. So when you mention like this, automatically that data is not going to come. If the entire row is containing null, for example, you have some more columns here and some more, every column is having a null, null, null. So when you have entire row is having a null and you can remove, and same thing also you can have, if any column is having complete null values, you can also place, prefix that. And non-empty is a keyword and non-empty is a function also. Okay, so non-empty is a keyword I'm going to use. It is giving you only the non-empty values. Okay, so this is the recommended practice you can have whenever you have any kind of a null values that you can remove from the data, the query. So this is non-empty keyword. Clear? And you are able to get the data. Things like that, you can ask any kind of a data. And now let me have sales amount and say state wise. Okay, I would like to get the state wise. Now, how do you get same thing? So simply you have to say select and the from cube name. And when you go up, you should be able to get the cube name. You should be able to get the sales amount, drag and drop sales amount, or you can drag and drop state is also first. You can say on columns. So the preferred one is that you can put anywhere anything. The preferred thing is that the measure you better keep it in the column only. This is completely some kind of a recommended practice. You can also put in rows. There is no issue, but always measures put in columns. And when you come down, you have to drag and drop the state. Where is the state? You have to go to the dim location table. When you go to the dim location table, you have to go to the state and don't drag and drop this state. And if you drag and drop also, what is going to happen, I'll tell you. And you have to go to the members and you will be able to get individual members here. And here I wanted to show you the data. And let me go here. You should be able to get the data. Now here we have Andhra, we have Rhode Island, we have, Karnataka, Maryland, but lots of data is null value. So if you have a null row, if you wanted to remove that, simply put what? Non-empty, non-space empty is a keyword. And when you execute like this, automatically those rows will be removed. Clear? So we don't know Texas belongs to which country, Tamil Nadu belongs to which country, we are not aware, but the customer is asking like this. But if you wanted to write the same query in the data warehouse level, so let me take the same query and let me go to the data warehouse level and I am writing the data here. Now, how do I do the data in the data warehouse level? So when you go here, you have to, now sales amount is available here in the sales table, right? This is my sales table, fine. And I need what? I need state wise, but where is the state available? The state available, say let me take A and join the state available in dim location. I have to join these tables, okay, as B. And you have to be worried and how to join A dot, location key I have. And 1 minute, somebody is calling me. Okay. So I'm just, get the sales amount, join the table on location key equals to this, and you have to go back to the and B dot location key, you have to join this. So after joining, let me see the complete data. I'm able to get complete data here. And later, I wanted to get only for the country wise or the state wise. So you have to take this column and take city, state, and you have to take sum of say sales amount from the fact sales table as sales amount. And will this work? Is not going to work. Why it's not going to work? So apart from aggregate function, whatever you columns we have, these columns have to be mandatorily there in the group by clause. We had learned this in the SQL. So group by state. When you say group by state, you have to write like that. Now, whatever you're able to see, Karnataka, Maryland, Texas, the same figures you're able to see in this also. But now tell me, which is the easiest query? Now you're not joining anything here. You're not summing anything here. You're not using any group by clause here. And it is able to give you all this data and a fraction of seconds. Now tell me, do you think this is very, very complex query, or this is very, very complex query? Now you have to, if you're lucky when you have two tables of data. You're unlucky when you have 500 tables are there. You're unlucky when you have some 50, 60 tables are you wanted to join, because I wanted to know country wise, year wise, state wise, product wise, category wise, like that. If I'm doing everything, all the tables we have to join, dim location, you have to join dim time, you have to join category table, all the table you have to join. And definitely normal queries only very, very complex, and these queries will run very, very slowly. Why? Because on the fly it has to run the data. Clear? But here we are not thinking about dicing group by clause. We are not worried about what kind of aggregations we have to use, and nothing you are specify in this, but same kind of a data. When you take this data and copy in Excel, and when you take this data and copy it in Excel, and you would understand the same data. When you say Maryland 14938, so go here, Maryland 14938. So you can compare this data and the data. Definitely these queries are now will become complex than these queries. Okay, you need not join, you need not have group by clause, you need not have aggregate functions and everything. And MDX queries are a bit more faster than the normal queries. Okay, now I wanted to have the same data, but I wanted to have sales amount states state wise, and only for year 2012. I don't need for all the thing. I wanted to slice the data, so I have to use where. I wanted to slice the data only for this 2012, and you have to simply go here to the sale date I'm talking about here, and the sale date. When you go and you have year number, when you expand the year number, you have individual elements are there. You have to drag and drop 2012 here. Okay, and this is the data for 2012. Are you able to see? In 2012, we have Karnataka and Texas. Only these cities the sales has happened. But in the 2013 means simply you can replace with 13, or you can drag and drop. Anything is fine. And through 2013, you can have like this. Okay. But when you see 2013 data, you have to write like this. Okay. Now tell me, if I wanted to implement the same thing here into the data warehouse level, now tell me, where is uh, the date. So you have to join one more table. Say join. What is the table you have to join? Dim time as C, and you have to say on. You have to a dot date key, sale date key I'm talking about. Sale date key equals to C dot I'm talking about date key. Now you're able to get. Now after that you have to say where. Now this table, what is the table? Dim time table. When you say Alt F1, so in the when you say Alt F1, there is a column called year number. You can simply take this column, and or you can, if you understand the column names exactly, take this year number 2013. So this is the way you have to write the data here and execute. Now you have put in a where clause, and you have to put in the join and everything you have to put it, and this is the data for 2012. Let me execute this data, and this is pretty much complex. So when you go here, did we use any kind of a joins here? No. Did we worry about whether it is there or not? Oh, no, we're not worried anything. Simply you go and execute. Only thing is that you have to keep the same thing in the where clause. Clear? So like that, you should be able to get the data very easily without having a joins and all. And these are the basic of MDX queries we should be able to understand. Okay. So tomorrow we'll have some more queries. Is it fine, guys? Any questions? So what all we had learned today? Are you clear?